This is Rob from American Pancake, and I think today is the day, September 9th, 2022, that the Kramies album comes out. I have to tell you, it's a stunning album. I really enjoyed it. It's got bits of Americana, bits of kind of 60s Britpop, all kind of filtered through surreal sounds, as if Michel Gondry and David Lynch had a hand in manifesting it. Very cool. And I got a chance to speak with Kramies himself, and that's what this little intro is about. Now, he's a very interesting songwriter and kind of visionary, the way he comes up with his sonic landscapes. Had a great time talking with him. Really a good guy, and I hope you enjoy it. It's nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you. You never know, like, this is what makes me laugh all the time, because you see people's faces in social media, so you never know what their voice is going to sound like.
Right.
And it's always a little nerve-wracking. I never know what to expect, like, because social media is destroying everything. But I appreciate this, and I'm very happy to be doing this.
But I was really excited to speak with you because
Yeah, that's awesome.
Delving into the album for a few days, and
oh, you have?
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, it's a very, first of all, it's a stunning album. I love the album.
Thank you.
But it's a surprising album to me.
Really?
Because I had previously, in fact, I'll bring it up just so I can remember. I'd previously featured a review of Hotel in L.A.
Hotel in L.A.
Yeah, the one that you said you were going to name Shitty Hotel in L.A.
It was named Shitty. It was named Shitty Hotel, and then everyone's like, "You probably want to take Shitty off because we're trying to sell this thing." So
yeah.
I'm like, so I listened to
him, and that I really thought that was a artistic song for many reasons, as I outlined in the review. And it felt so, like, I don't want to say oppressive, but it felt pretty bleak,
It felt bleak. What was weird about that one was that was only a demo, and like it was really hard for people to mix, because I think I talked about this in some stuff. I was living in Asheville at the time. I had a balcony. It was looking at the Blue Ridge Parkway, and I literally had my iPhone out, or a small recorder, an old recorder, and I had just put it down and used no microphone, just directly onto the thing, and recorded an acoustic and me singing. So you hear the rain, you hear the birds, and that's all it was supposed to be. But I needed another song. So my musical studio partner, David Goodheim, layered all those stuff over it, and then we tried to mix it all, and it was a really weird balance of it got really mushy, but it had something to it. It was very bleak. Yeah, I agree.
That's really interesting, because a lot of times, I mean, I love production, but a lot of times the best songs, like a few years ago, Sparkle Horse recorded Tom York singing on a phone, and he used that on his recording.
Oh, really?
And
I didn't.
And it was so, like, it was actually a Pink Floyd song, and I can't remember what song they did, but it sounded so great, and it was the opposite of a production, And right. I like the fact that maybe that's what you're hearing. You were hearing all that ambiance and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely.
No, the album surprised me, because I had heard that song, so I thought that was maybe going to be kind of the signature sound of the album, which it's not. And so it was a nice surprise to hear all the other stuff,
Yeah, yeah. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. But I kind of like it because it's like just all these misfit songs done in different ways, and I didn't. There's nothing to hold on to. There's no. It just goes like it's just like production wise and people wise and song wise. It's all over the place.
Well, I felt, everybody who listens to art is going to think a different thing based on their own perspectives and everything.
Yeah.
But when I listened to it, I thought there was a demarcation, like there was a first half and a second half that sounded quite dramatically different.
Mm-hmm.
Right after Ohio, I'll Be Fine, which I really, really, really dig that song because a lot of your vocals on the other songs are a little bit more aloof and detached the way they're recorded. And that one's like boldly right up front. It's pretty dry.
Yeah.
And I like that, like the how's it start? I wrote it down. It starts with the line, you can have the money and you can give the blame. You can take the land from I'll just leave, and you can take the land from I'll just leave in pain.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I heard that first line. I'm going, what is the story here? I mean, that sounded pretty.
It's not. It's really okay. So I ironically, I am now back in Ohio after like almost 2 decades gone. When I lived in Ohio, I was just a raging drug addict. I was just like, I was in the music business. I was like touring. I was opening up for, every band that was coming through Cleveland, Chicago, everything like that. But I was just I was just really in the whole music drug thing. And that song, I think my songs are never about anybody or anything really, but I think that's what that was literally talking about, is me just moving forward from all that stuff.
Yeah, you have a line in there, walking from the headaches, flushing out the drugs. So that definitely that song and Hotel in L.A., you could feel that mention of being addicted and all that.
Yeah, definitely that I've been clean now for 17 years now.
Congratulations.
And now thank you, and all these songs are now coming. They're all, what I mean, they found their way out, I guess. I don't know where this stuff is coming from, but it's happening.
Well, it's a kind of a constant with artists that they draw from pain. I mean, it's just it's the case,
Yeah.
But and when I heard that song, Hotel in L.A., I mean, Ohio, I'll Be Fine, because of the more upfront vocals and kind of a bare production. I was flashing on. There's an old Modest Mouse song called "Talking Shit About a Pretty Sunset." It's on their first album in 1996. Yeah. And the way he starts with a real like upfront guitar and real kind of in your face, intimate, that to me had that sound. And then it kind of gets big,
Mm-hmm.
And his doesn't, but I thought of that. And what's funny about Horses to Maine, I jotted down some notes too, because
both those were done in the same night in Oakland, California, with my good friend Jerry Becker, who is in the band Train. He just put a mic in front of me, and those 2 songs were supposed to actually be an acoustic EP. But we just over the year we just kept adding stuff. So both those songs you just mentioned came from the same night.
The Horses to Maine is just a great song. I really like the kind of the drums sound like they're at the back of a church.
Yeah,
it almost sounds kind of like a live recording where you have some distance and you're feeling the room sound. It doesn't have a lot of times when you hear music, you can tell everything's tracked and everything's perfectly placed. And I always like a little bit of a raw quality. That's just the way I am.
Me too. Yeah.
And that song has a great, and then out of the blue, you'll have those weird bells in there and stuff, kind of pushing it along.
Yeah.
Something in there an ambient sound that sounds like a train leaving a station or something. I don't know.
That is so cool that you just said that. That's rad. Like that. So those bells in the background, I played a glockenspiel. I think it was a glock. I forget how we did it, but I layered the same thing over and over, just a little off.
Okay.
So it just was a little, so it had that little kind of haunting, like little rockiness to it. But those drums, my friend John Panza, this album, it was like 3 weeks before I had to turn it in to the PR company and stuff, and like, or just be done with it. And I just didn't feel finished. So I just panicked and I sent everything. That song didn't even have drums on it. And I called my friend John Panza. He's like, I got it. And he just put these loud, like really upfront drums on it.
Really boomy drums.
Same with Ohio, I'll Be Fine. Jim Bogios from Counting Crows. He just laid down. I mean, he did the same thing. He just put drums like right over top of it. And it's because this, to me, like I can't really tell what my stuff sounds like at all. And I kind of like do that whole like, I don't like anything I do, but I get it out thing. But because of everybody else, that's why this sounds so cool. It's everybody else. Everybody else made me look cooler than I really, really am.
Well, yeah, you can say that you know you're writing the songs, and I think the song is key, man. I think, but I'm glad you're saying that about the other people because they did a great job.
They did awesome, yeah.
And it's funny too because you added the drums later, and I bet you didn't quantify anything or emphasize anything. So that means I love that too. When you know music's not supposed to be exactly machine.
No,
it's supposed to have breathing and ebbing and flowing, and the fact that he could record drums over you and still feel the emotion is incredible.
All those guys. And the other thing is I taught myself. I really am not a musician. I am just an artist, and it just happens to be one of my mediums. And like the fact that I can't keep tempo, I can't tune. I make up all my own stuff. So the fact that they were able to even follow anything I was doing is pretty awesome. Well, I mean, everyone's really skilled.
You have to have pretty good meter, even though you may not think you do. You have to have
so
that's great.
I don't really, when people in the studio say, show us what you're doing so we can whatever, it's been a joke for like 30 years. I'm like, I can only show you where I put my fingers. And everyone goes, oh, Kramies is going to show us where he puts his fingers now, everybody. Gather around, you know what I mean? Because I don't know how to even talk about it, you know? So
no, but that's amazing because you probably, there's a certain artistic freedom there because you're making up chords because you're making up what sounds good. I do the same thing. I dabble in music and not
what do you play? What do you do?
Play guitar and I'm a drummer.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But it's amazing that, you know, a lot of times people like you who may not know every chord or identify, you know, a minor, you know, whatever. A lot of times you're doing chord shapes that are open and that are a little different. And people who are like learned musicians, they really are amazed by that. I mean,
yeah, I've had a lot. That's very true. I've had a lot of people like try to figure, like they'll email me or message me and ask me if I was doing something. I'd be like, I really don't. I tune the guitar to what is easiest for me to play. So that's how I write my structures. And I tend not to use all my fingers because it's too hard for me.
Right.
So that's why when I play shows, it's a pain in the ass because I have to have 5 guitars up there because they're all tuned different.
You're like Joni Mitchell or something.
Right.
She was like the queen of alternate tuning.
What? Oh, was she?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Was like, she had like probably 20 different alternate tunings on her songs.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was something else, or she is something else. She's still around, obviously.
Yeah.
So what I was kind of gonna say earlier, and we got off a great, went off on a great conversation, was it felt to me like Days of to Ohio I'll Be Fine sounded a little bit more like Americana or garden rock. I call bands like The Wait and bands like that who have a little bit of country lilt to them, like I call it garden rock,
Yeah.
And then You'd Be the Fall down to 4:44 a.m. I don't know if it's just me or but like when I listen to You'd Be the Fall, which is a great song, for one thing, it felt a little bit like a sister to Hotel in L.A., although I know it's not. You just mentioned that Ohio I'll Be Fine was kind of the sister to that song. But You'd Be the Fall, there's something about it to me that had a little bit of a Brit pop, like a 60s Brit pop thing happening.
Maybe,
Like I thought
like
of Syd Barrett and I thought of Bowie. Especially in the lilt of your voice. Your voice changes a little bit from the previous songs. I don't know if that was purposeful or it just happened or
I think so. Ohio or You'd Be the Fall is what I would say is the kind of core of what I've been doing up until this point. You'd Be the Fall is kind of that eerie, dark fairy tale, a little dreamy, almost Donovan-ish.
yes.
Like
Yes.
almost that's like my whole dreamy folklore kind of thing. And I think that the other songs were me pushing myself to grow and be bigger, but I somehow came back to I still brought back songs like that still.
Yeah, those are a little bit more stripped down than the first four.
And I mean, if my album before this or my EP before this of All the Places Been and Everything the End, it has a lot of big stuff to it too, but it seems to always be the ones that take the least amount of time. Those are the ones that everyone seems to point out and like a lot.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, it is.
That's great.
It is.
It's great because it's kind of tapping into your essence, because the more you produce a song, the more you ruin it usually.
Yeah,
So,
I agree with that.
Massaging a song to death for someone like you who's artistic, I don't know, man. I think you've got something and
Thank you.
But that song, you have the sounds in there that sound kind of Mellotron-ish. I don't know if it's a Mellotron or not. But
that's Jason Lytle.
That kind of made it sound a little 60s English to me.
Yeah.
And
that's all. I love it. I love all the things that you're hearing. I don't hear anything. This is really fun for me because I would have never even thought of that. But I mean, I have Tyler Ramsey and Jason Lytle, my two favorite songwriters. They're both on that song. So they contributed. So you could kind of hear Jason on there, and you could kind of hear Tyler.
I wrote about his music like years ago, but I haven't kept in touch with Jason.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. Good. Yeah,
but I did think of early Syd Barrett, even though early Pink Floyd was doing more almost like pop songs, but I did think of them with that song and a little bit of Bowie for whatever reason. Sometimes I hear things and I can't really define why I'm thinking it.
Well, Bowie's my Hunky Dory is how that album is how I taught myself to sing as a kid, and that's the reason why, like in a lot of that album, Hunky Dory, which is probably the best album ever made. When the song ends, if you listen close, you can hear the phone in the studio ringing. You can hear their chairs rocking. You can hear them talking in the background.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I was obsessed with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's
Bowie's the guy.
It's mesmerizing. He's one of my top guys. I like to. I always have since high school, and I'm a little spring chicken. Flowers from the Orphan.
Oh boy.
To me, that kind of continues in that kind of 60s thing. In fact, I thought of Moody Blues.
I love Moody Blues.
And I thought of Pink Floyd again a little bit, and it just has this airy sound, like a church-like quality to it.
Yeah.
And I thought of Polyphonic Spree for that reason. But you have those supporting female vox in there that really elevate that song.
That is Allison Lorenzen. She was just featured on NPR. She was introduced to me by us. I lived in Denver for like 8 to 11 years. I don't remember how long, but I never had met Allison, and then we were introduced kind of in a really funny way. I had a friend who's like, I'm really into like rings and jewelry and everything, and like showy kind of Bowie. I loved like the early acoustic Bowie. He was a real showman and stuff.
Yeah.
Allison is kind of like that too, but she's more like a Enya. Well, one time, I think a couple years ago, or yeah, 2018, I got a review in L.A. I think it was L.A. I can't remember, whatever, but they said Kramies is the male Enya. So Jason Lytle started calling me Menya, like, and then it became like, and then it went on Twitter, like they started tweeting, check out Menya. And so my friend is like, hey, you should talk to this girl because she loves rings and jewelry like you, and she's like Menya, like she's like Enya. And that's how we got introduced. And the minute I heard her voice and her piano playing, I thought I have to do a duet with this girl. And again, that wasn't even going to be on this album. And she's like, send me a song. And I wrote a song like within 2 days. I wrote that song. And then she did those parts, and I was just blown. She's amazing. Her voice is amazing. She's an amazing person. She's really cool.
It almost reminded me of I like singers. How do I put this? You know, if you're too good a singer, then it sucks all the soul out of you. You know what I'm saying? There's no like emotion in your voice.
Yes, I totally know.
So this is gonna sound like a backwards compliment, but she's a great singer. in that way where everything is pristine and right, and you feel her emotion a lot.
Right.
And that's what I really like. She reminds me of I can't think of that artist. There was a movie that was pretty popular called Once. And
Glenn Hansard.
Yeah, and the woman who plays piano, I think she's European, or
she's from like Portugal. Her name is Mart. It starts with an M, but I know who you're talking about. I loved that movie.
She had a similar, their duets in that movie are beautiful.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah.
And the way in Flowers from the Orphan, I had that sense, where again, I can't stand like these kind of, perfect voices. Right. Because I want to hear the emotion. And there's a lot of emotion in that song. That's a really beautiful song. You should be really proud of it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And then Owl and the Crow.
Yeah.
Again, and I don't know why. And I really love the spatialness on that song.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good, but because of the kind of piano and then really stripped down sound on that, which I love, I kept reflecting on Bowie again. Like there's one of his best songs is 5 Years. And there's a video on YouTube when he performed that live, like in a German TV show or something or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it's very stripped down, very intimate. And that's what I thought of when I was listening. I mean, Owl and the Crow doesn't sound like that song.
No, but that's a huge compliment. Huge compliment.
You deserve it. In terms of temperament and kind of the timbre and everything, I thought of that song. And that's a great song. I don't want to dissuade you from ever doing like produced work, but man, you could definitely captivate an audience in a really stripped down fashion too. And that's
thank you.
That's really
something. That compliment just saved me a lot of money too.
Well, you know, it's funny if we can be honest with each other now that we know each other.
Yeah.
On Days of, which again is a great opening song, I almost felt like the production for a first song was a little bit like out there, you know. And I almost wanted it to be a little stripped down. That's just me. It's a beautiful song and it's perfect, but that's just me. But
when I perform it, go ahead.
What you guys do in that, which is really interesting, because you do a lot of those weird ambient sounds, and I'm a big fan of people like Johnny Greenwood, like when he did the soundtrack for There Will Be Blood, and he creates all this tension with just sounds instead of like traditional guitar.
Yeah.
You guys have a sound in there in the middle of like what's essentially kind of an Americana folkish song, and it sounds like a spaceship going by. I don't know.
You can thank Jason Lytle again of Grandaddy. Jason, every song that he's ever worked on of mine, and we go back to like 2013. In fact, Jason and I go way back because I opened for Grandaddy back in the 90s and stuff. But that's Jason's, that's his touch. There's always something so unexpected that
I love it.
I do too. It works, but you would never believe it was going to be there. You know what I mean?
It's kind of jarring, you know, like,
yeah.
Like I was listening and then it kind of puts you in this weird headspace where, and I, you know, obviously liking Bowie, I'm a fan of like, you know, fantasy rock and things like that. But that song, even though it's like kind of an American country song, it almost sounds like when that happens, it's like, is it a farm on Mars or something? You know, it's just like,
that'd be great.
You know what I mean? It kind of, yeah,
I love that it destroys it. Actually, because to me, because Pat Carney of the Black Keys he was the one that worked on that one. He put the drums on it. He said he never gets a chance to play guitar, and that guitar riff that you hear, that actually is Pat, and that changed my whole vision of that song too. If I play that song live and solo, just acoustic, it comes out that whole like folky kind of. But those two guys destroyed that, and I'm glad that they did, because I don't want to get coined in certain things.
Right.
And I love when people are just like, you know what, let's just fuck this up and let's make it happen. You know what I mean? So both those guys, they really, again, both those guys, they made that shit great. But it is huge production. It's big. It's big sounding compared to everything else.
Well, on the last song, and I just closed your page right there. The last song, 4:44 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
There's something weird going on there too. Like, it's great, but it's a very sparse metal, you know, intimate song. And then at the end, it's so awesome because I could only describe it. There's all these interweaving sounds, and some of the guitars are kind of opposing the other sounds.
Yeah.
And it almost seems like a storm coming or city traffic.
Oh,
you know, there's this kind
that is so cool that you're saying. That's so cool. That is so rare. That again, that, you know, that song started off just me and vocals, and I sent that to Jason Lytle, and he added some underground synths to it. But then again, I was like, I got to bring this up. So we put guitars and we put drums on it, and we just brought it up to that whole strange kind of weeble wobbly.
Yeah, it builds a lot of tension.
Mm-hmm. I love
it
tension.
Sounds very cinematic.
Thank you.
A number of songs on this album, I thought, I don't know. Sometimes I watch too much episodic television, like Netflix and Hulu. You know, these series.
Yeah.
And a couple of your songs on here, I go, that would make a killer theme song for one of those.
Let's make it happen. I'll give you half the money. Make it happen. I'll give you half the money.
I'll try. I don't have a lot of connections in that regard.
I have people that work on that, but it's a really, you know, that industry is tight. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've had stuff on TV and stuff like that before, but let's nail the next Tom Hanks movie. Let's get one of these songs.
It's great stuff. Hey,
Thank you.
I'm gonna run out of time in about 8 minutes,
That's I totally understand.
and I could talk to you for 2 more hours. I could easily talk
Ah,
for 2 more hours.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. So maybe we'll get a chance to talk again.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to go ahead and write a review on the album.
Oh, that's
Then
great.
I will contact you so you can tell me when, sometimes there's embargoes and you're not supposed to put a review out before the album comes out or whatever. So
Yeah.
just tell me, but I'm going to go ahead and start writing it, this weekend.
Thank you. That's awesome.
And great meeting you.
You too. It
And,
was awesome.
Yeah, I hope we talk
Totally.
again.
Yeah, anytime. I'd love it.
I
For
love
sure.
and the fact that I am also, again, not a good writer, but I write and things like that. So I understand the creative process. And so it's super. I love talking to other creative people. So that's great.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that you are a creative person and you're writing this, that actually makes me happy. Like, because you already have like pointed out things that I didn't even know about this album. So I think it's fantastic, and I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. A great album, man.
Thank you so much.
I think the collaborative effort that you have with, I can't imagine what a blessing that would be to send music in your form and then have people just like manipulate it in such a good way. And then you're getting it back and it's like Christmas time, It's just
it is actually
amazing.
It actually is weird to hear what they do and how good it comes back, because when I send it out, I'd be like, they're gonna hate this, and then it comes back and it's like, that's not even me. That's not me. You know what I mean? But it is me. And like I'm starting to get used to the fact that all these amazing artists are jumping on and have been helping me, and it's kind of unreal. It doesn't really happen like that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I feel very fortunate and lucky. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Is Kramies your real name, or is it
It's Kramies.
Kramies.
Yeah, it looks like Kramies, like something you go see the doctor about,
I got Kramies here on my neck.
Yeah. But every like I'm headed to France in October for a bunch of stuff, and they call me Kramies. It's all. But just the fact that people are even saying it, I don't care what people call me.
What's your ethnic background?
Growing up, I was told I was 100% Dutch, but I just did my DNA.
I was born in Holland.
Were you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I was born in The Hague.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I was told I was 100% Dutch, to the point where my great-great-grandfather only died at the age of 98 because he was coming out of a brothel and got hit by a horse and buggy. That's how. But then I did my DNA test, and it's all a lie. I'm so much more than Dutch, and I was like,
most of us are.
Yeah.
And just I'm Dutch Indonesian, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
My dad was Dutch and my mother was Indonesian.
Wow.
You need make a note. You need to write a song about your grandfather and the brothel thing, and
I do. I do. What a legend.
Hey, if you're in the L.A. area or in California, let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Lovely
Definitely.
to meet you. And I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna put this up on YouTube and whatever, and you can do with it what you want to.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Well, nice speaking to you.
You too.
Okay,
we'll see you.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed it. American Pancake has been a passion of mine since 2009. And for most of that time, it existed without advertisements. There's a little bit of advertisements on there too, but don't garner a lot. So I do have a link below. And if you want to help the effort, support what I'm doing by reporting on the indie artists not covered by the pitchfork medias of the world, then I would really appreciate it. And that would just be stellar if you could just give whatever you can afford to give, one time or on a monthly basis. Hate to be asking for that, but it really helps me out and helps the blog out. Okay guys, until the next interview or the next hike and interview, maybe I'll bring somebody on a hike and interview them. I think Kevin Nealon kind of has taken that idea already. Signing out, man. Take care.